touchdown passes last year. This one's knocked up. Powers tips it to himself, and he'll score.
Snaps it anyway. Greer lobs it in the air. Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Watts-Jackson, and he scores on the left. Here's a blitz, and Klubnik didn't see it coming. He got blasted by Kalen DeLoach, who has the ball and is heading toward the end zone.
What is going on, everybody? We are back after a little bit of a hiatus. We are here bringing you live, well, not live, but recording here for College Football Talk episode 62. And today we have some early expectations show where we're going to discuss 2 or 4 teams that ideally should be in the hunt going into next year. We're going to look at their overall team right now and see our early projections on them. We got some coaching news in the world that we got to catch up on, as well as our way too early top 10 at the end of the show tonight, which could cause some controversy. Who knows? We'll get there, or we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But we're going to start, though. Make sure you guys are subscribing, obviously. Get the subscription numbers up. Views have been good, but make sure if you're watching, you are subscribed. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe because it's free. Helps us and helps you out because you get to watch more because there'll be more content. Yes. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You guys get the gist. Now, let's get right into it. The biggest news that we got to catch up on here is Michigan has a new head coach in Sharon Moore, as Jim Harbaugh has finally dipped his feet back into the NFL, I guess you should say, and took over as the next Los Angeles Chargers head coach.
Yep.
And so with that, Sharon Moore, who was the OC and the interim head coach when Harbaugh was suspended, he takes over now full time. They just announced today, or no, they didn't announce it. I was thinking of someone else. But so Moore is in. I haven't seen anything big as far as like people leaving.
Yeah.
Which is something that is a, with the 30-day window now that can open up for any teams to kind of come in and do whatever. There's always that, but it looks like for the most part, Michigan is staying intact for what they're bringing back.
Yeah.
Which is always good because,
that's going to really help them.
For sure.
I think out of anything, that's the biggest news is that I haven't really heard too many jumps into the portal or any big time names jumping in the portal or any big time coaches leaving the staff.
Yes. So, I mean, having that all back is going to help big time. I mean, we've already seen what Sharon Moore has done when he was interning as the head coach.
Yeah.
Did a great job. I mean, was put in the tough spot with the Penn State game, the Maryland game, which ended up being a close game, a lot of people thought, and then the Ohio State game. Obviously, did a great job, got 3 wins, and, got Michigan into the playoffs where they ended up winning it all. So definitely helps out, like I've been saying. The big piece not being returning back. Obviously, J.J. McCarthy's going to the NFL, so you're going to have to break in a new quarterback.
Yeah.
But, Donovan Edwards is coming back. You're getting guys like Brady Prescorn and Jaden Smith all coming back, who's a linebacker. So, you got some good pieces coming back, but, as every team, you out with the old, in with the new.
Yep.
I guess you want to say. Do you think maybe this gives a leg up at all for any other teams surrounding in the Big Ten as far as maybe like pouncing on this as like an opportunity?
I don't know if it's pouncing on an opportunity. I think the best way to describe it is I think at least for Ohio State, the biggest threat to you guys winning the conference has just taken a tiny step backwards.
And you've been taking a big step forward.
Exactly. So Sharon Moore, obviously we need to see more of him. The games he coached, they won, but they were Jim Harbaugh's coaching plans. I mean, they've said it the whole time that up the practices leading into it, Jim Harbaugh game planned for him, and he pretty much just did what Jim Harbaugh wanted, right?
Yeah.
Now, we don't really know what he's going to do, so maybe he could turn around and be a great head coach, but Jim Harbaugh is one of the best coaches on the planet in all levels of the sport. NFL, college football, we're going to see him probably do great in the NFL. So to lose that guy, I think you're automatically taking a step back. It doesn't matter who they got to replace him. You were going to take a little bit of a step back. So to me, I think it's less of being pounced on and more just Ohio State taking that another step forward. As I think they already took a good step forward with the guys they picked up in the portal, especially. I mean, to me, for Penn State, it means nothing because not like they're going to ever do anything. So,
ooh,
early
shots fired here.
It's really what Ohio State and kind of Oregon too. Oregon's in the Big Ten. I think it's those two. For those two programs, it's a way that they can take a little bit of a leap on top of the Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, it's for sure going to be interesting how many teams maybe try to almost even the playing field. I do agree. I think Ohio State, Oregon are going to be right there.
Yeah.
Whether or not now Ohio State can finally get back over the hump is going to be a different question that will be answered next year.
Yeah.
I look for teams, don't count Washington out yet. I think Jed Fish is a really good coach. Will Rogers is going to be coming back. So, plenty of weapons, I think. You're going to have a veteran quarterback who almost was about to set the all-time passing record at the SEC.
Yeah.
If he wouldn't have transferred. So, you're going to have plenty of experience right there and a good system like that. And I expect them to be fine.
Yeah.
And USC is still going to be around as much as we like to knock on them sometimes. But, it looks like Riley is going to be focusing more on defense. So we'll see how much of an improvement.
I think they'll take a step forward this year.
If he doesn't
from last year, yeah.
If they don't, we could be looking at Lincoln Riley finding a nice
Losing
new
his job, yeah.
OC or head coaching job somewhere else because he may not last another year with that defense.
Knowing the sport, he'll probably fall upwards into the Cardinals job.
Back with the Cardinals for sure. Yeah. Other coaching news. Looks like the Boston College head coach is heading to the NFL, take over the Green Bay Packers DC job. Quite startling. Only the fact that, Boston College had finally had a really good year. And now all of a sudden, they're going to have to start over in a sense.
Yeah.
We'll see how much of a hit, which from a program that's has been through its slumps for majority of this decade. Jeff Hafley is, was doing a great job of turning this ship around.
Yeah.
But now heading to the NFL, any early considerations possibly who might be a coaching candidate for that one? You think they'll just promote from within?
No, I think they're going to go outside just because there's nobody really inside who's crazy. I think at least when you're talking about Boston College, they're in a lucky position in the fact that they're not going to have to compete with anybody else for whoever they want. If they find who they want, there's no bidding war. They're going to get their guy. I think the biggest names I've seen come up a couple times were Bill O'Brien, who just became the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. However, I think if he gets offered that Boston College job, I wouldn't be surprised. That is his kind of area. That's where he wouldn't, it's not a bad spot for him.
No.
And I also have heard Dan Mullen's name come up a couple times.
It'd be interesting to see if Mullen actually took that because he did turn down the Syracuse job.
Yeah.
So it'd be kind of weird if he turned down that one just to go to a similar area.
I could just see the Boston College for him, especially just because Boston College is a school where they do not care about recruiting at all.
Well, and Mullen does like not to recruit, so
exactly.
But a source did tell ESPN here. I'm reading off this from an On3 tweet. College coaching has become fundraising, NIL, and recruiting your own team and transfers. There's no time to coach football anymore. Quote. So apparently, the just new and ever-changing college football landscape played a major de facto decision into why Hafley left.
Yeah.
And, Josh Pate said this in one of his episodes recently of how, what you saw with Saban and Harbaugh, heading back to the NFL, Saban retiring. Now you see Halfley going to take on a job at the NFL.
Yeah.
You're going to start seeing a lot more of this possibly from coaches that are still in their prime, still have plenty of more years to go, and are in decent spots. Just say, listen, there needs to be some parameters, and because I can't keep up with this, I can't coach. It's hard enough to coach a football team and win, but now when I gotta recruit and keep an eye on not only high school talent and transfer talent, but I got to keep an eye on guys that are already on my roster because I got to constantly be recruiting. It's completely it runs you down, drains your battery. It's 24/7, 365. And, a lot of these coaches don't like where the sport is going. They've openly said that. And again, this is just, I think, another, speed bump for what is the NIL challenge that we're seeing. You're seeing it with these investigations that are going on from the NCAA. Tennessee just is getting booked with an NIL penalty. They claim they never committed any sort of penalty. So them in Virginia are suing or not. I don't know if they're suing. I got to double check if they're suing or not, but they're going to court against the NCAA. And, if they lose, if the NCAA loses, I mean, you might not see, them being able to run anything anymore. So that's massive. You saw Florida. Florida's in the midst of an investigation, similar stuff.
Yeah, I remember there's specifically about that quarterback.
It's over Jaden Rosada.
Exactly.
And how, they said, hey, we're going to give you this amount of money and never ended up doing it. So there's just a lot of investigations, a lot of nonsense. A lot of off the field noise nonsense. That's just going on. That's just kind of seeping in and just kind of overtaking what is college football. Because eventually we're just going to get to a spot where amateurism and amateur sports are not a thing anymore. And it's just make them employees. And, that's that. They're going to have to start saying like signing legal contracts, saying like you're an employee of this university pretty much. And, you're going to get paid such and such, and we're going to go from there because that just feels like at this point, with the way some of these people are getting paid and now all the NIL stuff's going on, who wants to be a coach during this time?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be really committed and just either love college football and just love just the grind and the process, which a lot of coaches have, and kudos to them. Or you just, you have a lot more leeway, I think, or a lot more, chances to succeed than you would maybe as an assistant coach or something in the NFL. It's a better job, so you take that chance and you roll with it. So I personally, I don't know if I'd be able to keep up with it.
It's a lot. It's a 365 days a year job. You don't have any off days.
You don't.
And that's the hard part.
You don't.
Like an NFL coach gets 6 to 8 weeks of time to themselves. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, I mean that's where that calendar that we've always been talking about. A lot of people have been talking about how they have a structured calendar.
Yeah.
Where this such and such day is the draft, combine, Senior Bowl. This is the off season. Training camp starts here. Rookie camp starts here. Mandatory mini camps, all that stuff. It's all breaking down. College football, you got the season. Conference championship week, signing day, early signing day, transfer portal opens. Then bowl games are starting in the midst of all that. Yep. Then you have the playoffs, while all this stuff's still going on, and then it's just a big mess. Big mess, and I don't know if I'd be able to do that. Meanwhile, again, if you're a freshman and you're not playing,
you're transferring. 9 times out of 10 now they're transferring.
Because then
you're at least entering the portal.
And because then you have tampering goes on behind the scenes because everybody's tampering. And again, nobody's going to get caught when everyone's doing it. So, you're
just going to get a couple teams that are going to be used as warnings, pretty much. examples as to, hey, don't do this, or this is what we'll do. Like you're seeing right now at Tennessee and Florida State and Florida, where you're going to see examples made out of them by slaps on the wrist, sanctions.
Yeah, I mean, and those are just sanctions that they'll be like Mickey Mouse ones too.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move on though. Definitely stuff to keep an eye on, especially this.
Oh yeah, absolutely, I agree with you.
The NIL stuff. This court case between Tennessee and NCAA is something very impactful if it rules in favor of Tennessee and Virginia, because that will change the entire landscape as far as power struggle goes and who has power and who doesn't and who's going to be the governing body. I think almost if Tennessee wins, you could be looking at a spot where they're going to have to start to restructure how college football works.
Yeah.
Because, again, like I said a little bit ago, like amateur sports may not become a thing anymore in football. Because if more people are going to be getting paid, you're going to have to start, finding a way to break that all down. Because, again, none of the school fundings get sent to, like, NIL funds. That's all, like, self, donations and all that stuff like that. So none of from what's going to the school is going to the NIL. So it's a lot to keep an eye on. Nonetheless, so we're going to move on to early expectations time. And we got 4 teams tonight. And Ole Miss will be the first one we're going to be talking about. Where, we're just going to, like, Ole Miss. We're going to look at what they've done so far in the portal. Just rankings. And we're going to take a look and see how we feel about them going forward into 2024-2025 season. So Ole Miss comes in number 1 in the transfer portal rankings.
Yep.
Off topic. Do you hear that?
Sounds like air blowing.
Yeah, it's my freaking laptop. It's going to blow up like a freaking jet plane. But they have the number 1 recruiting class coming in. Guys like Princely. I'm going to say Princely, but he's from Florida. So I can't say last name. And I apologize, Ole Miss and Princely. But Walter Nolan's coming in. Yep. Antoine Juice Wells from South Carolina is coming in. Tyler Barron. They got Deion Smith. You have Jackson Dart coming back. You lost Quinshon Junkins for some silly reason, but that's not the point. Trey Harris is coming back. Got a lot of good stuff coming back.
Yeah.
And, you have a schedule next year, which is not too bad. It's not that bad. So, there's definitely room for, chance for them to have a really good season next year with the 12-team playoff. Again, it's, you're going to have more teams in. They have their toughest game toughest game on the road next year is at LSU. And their toughest game at home, I'd say, is Georgia.
Yeah.
So, they have Furman, Middle Tennessee State, Wake Forest, Georgia Southern, Kentucky, South Carolina, LSU, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Georgia, Florida, Mississippi State. Very favorable.
Yes, they do.
So, all that and everything else. What do you think about Ole Miss here?
I think Ole Miss can easily win the West next year. Personally, I mean, I don't know about you, but the loss of Nick Saban and Alabama,
no divisions.
Alabama.
Remember, no divisions.
Oh, no division. Yeah, sorry about that. Forgot about that. I think they could play. I think they could win 11 games this year. I think they have a very favorable schedule, like you were just saying. I think they have a fantastic roster. They've won 10 games the past 2 years now.
Yeah, they just won 11 games for the first time in school history.
I think they could easily make a SEC championship game run at least. I think right now I would say they're gonna be a playoff team.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think so too. Just because with the at-large bids and stuff, there's going to be teams, whether or not, even if they're 10th or 11th, they're going to get in. So
yeah,
and they're definitely going to be a tough opponent for anybody they play. I think it's key to look at the schedule though. They don't play Alabama. You don't have to play Auburn.
Yep.
You get Oklahoma, but they're at home. You get LSU. LSU's nothing. I mean, it's the
They
toughest road game you play, but then
they beat LSU this year on the road.
yeah, and so but you get like Arkansas, you get Wake Forest,
Mhm.
South Carolina. I mean, these are doable games, which they're going to have the better team in. They're going to have the better roster on paper. They're going to have the better quarterback.
Yep.
It's a matter of now. We've seen this before with the Kiffin teams, though. Are they going to be able to put this all together, or are they going to end up maybe sliding some?
Mhm.
But I just don't think they will. I think this is going to be a veteran kind of team.
I think this is the best constructed roster that Kiffin's had so far.
Yes, for sure.
I mean, that's just my perspective on it, though, is that he's coached teams that, no offense to those Ole Miss teams, have probably been less talented than a lot of the top SEC schools, yet they're still putting together 10-win seasons, like last year, an 11-win season. I think with this year, he finally has a roster that maybe it's not on the level of Georgia, but it's better than Alabama's current roster right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is the window seeking year, I think, or like a window shopping year, where
Yeah.
they're gonna have, this was the year I think where they, after you look at the schedule, look who they brought in. Pete Golding's been just a transfer portal, just absolute assassin out there. These are like, this was a year they may have looked at and be like, all right, we got these guys back, we got this in 2024, 2025 season. It's something we could really make a run for and make a lot of noise. So, 11 wins, Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl win. I mean, you look at their early schedule, I think they could easily start the year off 6-0 going into Death Valley.
Yeah.
So this is a very, very dangerous. I think the only team, this is a classic Ole Miss. This could be a classic Ole Miss team, though, either that could also either just be really good and run the table possibly, or lose like two or three games for some reason. It's like, how did that happen?
But with the benefit of the playoff now, is that 3-loss Ole Miss team could still sneak their way in with the 12-team playoff.
And I think too, we talk about the top four, how there was always the debate of like who should be in, who should be out.
Yeah.
The debates are going to be now. How do you differentiate a team like Ole Miss, possibly, who goes 9-3? Let's say a loss to LSU, Georgia, and I don't know, Mississippi State, because for some reason Mississippi State plays them tough and they lose. And okay, but wins wins at Florida, at Arkansas, at South Carolina, Kentucky, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
We all think they're going to be or some of those teams are going to be decent. How do you differentiate a team like that versus maybe, let's say, a 10-2 Louisville?
Yeah.
But they play a much weaker schedule. No offense to the ACC, but it's the ACC, not the SEC.
Yeah.
We've just seen this. How do you or even not Louisville? Let's take like Arizona State.
I was thinking Oklahoma State, right?
Oklahoma State, yeah, it's like that 10-2 Oklahoma State. They don't win their conference, but a really good season. But how do you differentiate?
What's the value between those two teams that you can differentiate that one is better than the other? I think that's the biggest debate we're gonna have when we get to this, like especially when we get to that first playoff ranking video, on ESPN.
Yeah.
Where we're just gonna have people say, like, what's the difference between 10 and 14? All those teams in between there feel the same. How can we truly differentiate which team is truly better than another? Like, hypothetically, a Arizona State team that somehow had an incredible year and they're 6-1 or 7-1 when the first playoff comes out, and they're 15.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, what do we discuss? Like, what's the merit? How do we base these teams?
Yeah, that's going to be definitely. And then you also got to look at, what about the non-Power 5 or Power 4 teams? Like, let's say,
like Tulane.
How about this one? Because they're not going to be in anymore. How about like Oregon State?
Yeah.
Some random reason they go 11-1. Let's just say for some reason, but they're not. They're playing like a Mountain West schedule. So how do we differ? Are we gonna say that's okay?
Yeah, that's
Put them in anyway,
yeah.
or does a 10-2, 10-2 Alabama get in over that? But their losses are maybe to Auburn and Georgia. How are we what are we using? What kind of criteria is going to be used to differentiate those two? Definitely something to keep an eye on for any team out there. I just think Ole Miss is one of those bubble teams that we've seen them start red hot like the last couple of years, and then they'll play a game, lose it by a lot, and then it kind of slides down a little bit. They didn't happen this year. It happened a couple years ago, but they were able to get back on track. Only losses to Bama and Georgia. That's going to be the big step for Ole Miss. I think Kiffin especially. You got over the LSU hump. You've gotten over Auburn, A&M, all of them. But you haven't been able to get over Bama and Georgia. You get another shot at Georgia, and you get them at home this year. Will this be a year where Kiffin can finally put, again, a game like he's had against these other teams and do it against like a legit now team that is also going stride for stride and winning a championship?
Yeah. That's the question, right? That's the big question with this Ole Miss team. I mean, we don't really know yet because we haven't seen them play at all yet, but I would like to think this is the season.
I think they'll be a very contending team. I don't know if they'll make the conference championship, but they'll definitely be competing for one. I think they'll definitely finish above Alabama. I think they'll finish higher than like Missouri and Oklahoma. Do they finish higher than Texas and Georgia? I'm not sure. It's could there be a sneaky dark horse team? Well, I'm sure there will be. There always is. So
LSU every year.
For sure. All right, we're going to be moving on to Georgia. The Dogs come back. Obviously, the biggest headline, Carson Beck's back. You're going to get guys like Warren Brinson, Nazir Stackhouse on the D-line. They're coming back their final season. Losing guys, though, like Javon Bullard, Kamari Lassiter, Tyke Smith. So you're losing those guys in the back end. You lost guys, Jamon Dumas-Johnson, Ladd McConkey, Brock Bowers, obviously a big one.
Yeah.
But, they bring in a stellar recruiting class. I can't speak tonight. KJ Bolden, Ellis Robinson, Justin Williams, Ryan Puglisi. The names just stack up.
Yeah.
Trevor Etienne out of the portal, as well as London Humphreys from Vanderbilt, Xavier McLeod, South Carolina, defensive lineman. Again, you're stocking up, reloading. I think they are going to be fine.
Yeah.
I'm not really expecting them to be anything else. You bring in Travarius Robinson out of Alabama, and you bring in
I think the biggest impact guy is Trevor Etienne coming in.
For sure.
Because I think you got a legitimate number one back for your biggest rival for nothing.
Oh, yeah. For a bag of popcorn is what it was.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, to me, Georgia's expectation every single year going forward is national championship or bust.
Oh, for sure. There's no if and or if.
Not winning the national championship is a disappointing season for the program right now where it's at. And I don't think that's a wild thing to expect either.
No, 100% not. It's, you start the year off against Clemson in Atlanta, so it's going to be like a home game. Tennessee Tech, Kentucky. The big one starts at Alabama. Auburn at home, Mississippi State, and then you go to Texas. I mean, those two right there, and then you have Ole Miss. Those are the three big ones right there. You get them on the road. It's the Ole Miss, Bama, Texas. The Texas or Alabama one seems to a lot of people, maybe it's like more of a winnable game now that DeBoer's in, Saban's out, because it feels like Saban's been like the boogeyman for Smart, and how Kirby Smart for some reason just doesn't, he just like his coaching style changes against him.
Yeah. So
now we'll see what happens there. But as I've said with this team all year this year, the only team it feels like that can beat Georgia is themselves. It's what happened in the SEC title game. They had no reason losing that, if we're going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
No reason. Self-inflicted wounds was the reason they lost that game. So outside of that, they would have won, and they probably would have won the national title again.
Mhm.
Sorry, Michigan, but I probably would have won it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, Trevor Etienne going to be a very nice addition because you're going to have Roderick Robinson coming in. Branson Robinson should be coming back at some point next year. He probably won't be cleared by August. He had a really bad leg injury right before this year. So I don't know if he'll be ready or not, but you have Roderick Robinson, Andrew Paul still there, Cash Jones, but Etienne will be the de facto number one guy. He's going to be used probably a lot in the passing game, I think, too. You might see a lot of like thunder, lightning, almost with Robinson and both Robinsons, Roderick or Branson, and then Etienne to kind of counter that.
Yeah.
They should be fine. And, Oscar Delp, big man on campus. He's taller than Brock Bowers, just as athletic. No, obviously nobody's Brock Bowers, but
oh man,
he's showed some plays in that Florida game, the first game where Bowers was out. He made a catch the first drive of the game, one-handed catch. You're like, okay, this guy's here. Here we go. We got another one of them. So they should be fine. Smart. This could be a year for Smart to be like call the dogs, like we're going for blood right now.
Yeah.
And I said that watching the Florida State game. At the start of the game, I don't know if I ever said this, but like at the start of the game, they were coming out of when they showed them coming out of the tunnel.
Yeah.
They just had they had a look in their eye like you done messed up, like we're about to F around. You're going to F around and find out here. Like, we're going to dominate right now. And I just looked at some of the guys' eyes, like, they're not messing around today. And they came out, obviously, and did what they did.
Yeah.
The only time, again, I think the only speed bump they could see maybe is not Bama, it's Texas.
I think Texas is the biggest obstacle.
Especially because Texas has what they've done in the portal, what they've done recruiting, and what they have coming back.
Yeah.
Is right here. I mean, I think Georgia's still above them, but Texas is right here.
But the thing is with Texas that makes I think Texas so dangerous is not only do they have a really, really good coach, but they have a quarterback who is, in my opinion, just as good as Quinn Ewers. I mean, Quinn Ewers is just as good as Carson Beck.
And it's gonna make that game so much fun to watch from just a fan perspective, because you're gonna have two Heisman quarterbacks. Two guys are going to be Heisman, two that have the top Heisman odds, according to Vegas. Yeah. Two guys that are probably going to be next year's first rounders. And if not, who else is going to be in that list? So, very much looking forward to with Georgia. I expect them to be in the playoffs. I expect them to be competing for the SEC championship.
Yeah.
Anything less than that, like you said, is a failure.
It's just straight up disappointing. If you lose 2 games this year, to me, it's a flat-out disappointing year. It's a complete disappointment.
If it's 2 games, even if it's 2 games, I think at this point, if you don't make the playoffs now, if you're the University of Georgia or any of these top schools, regardless of conference, you don't make the playoffs now as a 12-team playoff, that is
it's a straight-up
beyond disappointing. It's an embarrassment almost, it would feel like. So... But they're not. They should be fine. They should be.
No, I agree with you. I just wonder, my question is going to be, does resting players in the conference championship end up being a thing?
You could see it. I think also maybe depends on, because if you I haven't really understood the playoff bracket to the fullest, but obviously I get the seeding and stuff, but conference championship winners, regardless of your record, like you could be just hypothetically a 10-3 champion.
Yeah.
But you get that automatic bid. So maybe it depends on your record. Like if you're a team like at 9-3 or 10 or 8, maybe you're 10-2 going in, but there's other teams that are really good. Like this year, for like Georgia's sake, there was no chalk. It was no chalk. There was all chalk all year. So at the end of the year, when you slipped up against Bama, even with Florida State losing, and there was nothing else happened. You know what I mean? So because nobody else lost during the year, that would maybe shake things up, maybe to help y'all as it did back in 21. Because remember, they didn't win it back then either, and they still got in. So, I mean, it probably depends on where your record stands, because if you're a team like that has no losses, 1 loss, maybe 2 losses, depending on what conference you are and how the resume is, maybe a couple guys. I don't think they rest the entire game, but maybe it's like a preseason game. You treat it like that, where maybe it's just play a quarter and you're done. But if you're a team that's fighting for your realistically spot, or even if you're closing in like on a runner-up, if you're running up, but got to make a show, like you got to make a last good impression. Maybe even then you keep everyone out there.
I just can see the scenario in my head where it's 11-0 Georgia versus 12-0 Georgia versus 11-1 Texas, and Georgia just rest a bunch of their starters because it doesn't matter if they win or lose.
Yeah,
you're guaranteed a spot in
all your
home playoff game.
You're actually that's the other thing that's silly. Yeah, that's the silly thing about the playoff format. It's like if you lose, you're guaranteeing yourself home field advantage.
Right. And to me, if you're Georgia in that hypothetical situation, I could see the athletic director or the president of the school coming to Kirby Smart and being like, we need you to lose the game because we get a home playoff game, which will make us a ton of money versus.
Oh, and they're also selling alcohol now at Sanford Stadium.
Exactly.
Just got reannounced today. Let's give a clap up for that one, just in general. Obviously, beer is better. Life is good when beer is here. So
exactly.
There's that. I mean, they might just lose then for that part reason.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
You could look. I've been thinking about this a lot. How the MLB, you look at the MLB playoffs and how realistically, I forget the stat, but it feels like since they've changed the format now, have the top 2 teams have the bye.
Yeah,
I think only the Astros and maybe another team have
the Astros.
one. Are the only team to get a bye and win this series after that. Because other teams, you look at like the Braves and the Dodgers, have severely struggled with just, it feels like can't get anything going and end up getting just knocked out like that because you have a team that comes out, we're just staying in baseball here, team coming out like the Phillies who just dominate the wild card, pick up momentum and steam, and just keep rolling that into, the divisional round, then into the championship series, World Series. Could we start? I bet you we're going to start seeing some of that. I would not be surprised if you get a team, even if they're playing with like a little bit of like magic because they maybe got lucky and got in, or just is playing with house money, dominates in the first round, goes to play in a bowl game or in a neutral site game against a team that had a bye and just catches them sleeping because they're rolling and they're just kind of getting their feet wet again. So I can definitely see that we start getting into like the semifinals where upsets will be happening.
Yeah, I can see it happening
for sure. All right, we're gonna be moving on to Ohio State now.
Yep,
Ohio State. The Buckeyes come in. I mean, where do we want to start for as far as recruiting rankings go? They have jumped all the way to 8th in the transfer portal, picking up guys like Quinshon Judkins. Caleb Downs was the big one. Julian Sang, also from Alabama. Seth McClellan from Alabama.
Yep.
Will Howard is going to be the guy probably going as the starter from Kansas State. I mean, the Buckeyes, Ryan Day is not messing around.
Yeah.
It's one of the first times since Day's been there, probably even just the first time, where it feels like Ryan Day and then like
they're taking this serious.
They're taking it serious, but this also feels like almost not like a desperate look, but like have to see results this year. A result orient. This has to be a result productive year because otherwise, I mean, Day's seat was maybe a little warm from some people. You lose to Michigan again for the 4th year in a row.
You're fired.
You're done, or it's just cranked all the way up now.
Yeah.
Because that can't happen, especially now with Michigan coming in with a new head coach.
Yeah.
Losing their starting quarterback, losing the majority of their pieces because they were for a very heavily veteran group. So Ohio State must do well this year. And if they don't, kind of like how Georgia is with titles, but for Ohio State, I think just getting back to the Big Ten title game would be a good start, or just beating your rival for that matter. Because now you go back to Michigan this year. Right? No, it's in Ohio State.
It's in Ohio Stadium, yeah.
So you get Michigan back at home. So there's that. You start the year with Akron, Western Michigan, Marshall, which is a joke anyway.
Yeah.
Then you get at Michigan State, Iowa. That October 12th date, where you're at Oregon, is going to be a great first glance of where we're at.
Yeah.
As a team. November 2nd, you're at Penn State, which is never easy. I expect that possibly to be the whiteout game. Then you have Purdue, Northwestern, Indiana, and then there's Michigan. I mean, if you can't get over Michigan, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, I will say, I don't know how it's going to shape up, but with the no divisions now in the Big Ten either, there's a chance possibly they could go into Michigan. They're going into that Michigan week where they already maybe have kind of locked up a spot in the Big Ten title game. Just saying hypothetically, but still, you want to beat them then.
Yeah.
Never want to take a team lightly, but I was maybe just saying that for possibly if they lose again, you get another crack at it, which feels weird. Michigan, Ohio State would be possibly playing for back-to-back weeks.
2 times, yeah. Possibly in a hypothetical situation.
Like 3 times?
3 times in the same season.
Does it feel good or feel right? It's kind of like the NFL at that point.
Yeah.
They play your division teams possibly 3 times. But, yeah, this is a make-or-break year for Ryan Day, I think.
Yeah, me too.
For what you're doing in the portal with the names and Junkins, now, and you have Travion Henderson coming back. You have Emmanuel Abuka coming back. You have JT Tuimoloau coming back. You have Jack Sawyer coming back. I mean, you have all these guys coming back. They could have gone to the draft this year, but they're coming back for this year. And again, like I said, you bring in Downs, Junkins, Howard. You better figure it out right now this year. Yeah. Anything less than 10 wins is a debacle. 10 wins maybe is too low for this team. Like, they better get their big boy britches on.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think his days are limited, possibly in Ohio State.
I can see it.
And I don't think that's right or just, because I think Ohio State or Ryan Day has done, a solid job there. But this is what happens when you sign up for that type of, coaching job, and you're not able to live up to expectations, you get fired. It's not the same everywhere, but at Ohio State, they expect titles. They expect you to beat Michigan, and you haven't been able to do either one. So better figure it out real fast. And I think this is one of those years where I don't think it's like the window shopping thing with Ole Miss, but you better figure it out, I think.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree with everything you said there. No, I mean, the only thing I'd add to that is, adding not only that, but adding coaches like Bill O'Brien. I think it's just the idea that, like, hey, we're more serious about it right now. Like, we understand this is a culminating point that we can't keep losing. We lost to a Michigan team that didn't have their head coach last year. I mean, it's like it's been embarrassing for Ohio State for, at this point, 4 years. It feels like pretty much since the pandemic, like the COVID season, it has been embarrassing.
Even that, I mean, what the Big Ten did as a whole, was embarrassing too. But yeah, they need to figure it out fast. I think they will.
Yeah.
Will they win the Big Ten? That's a great question. I wish I had the answer, but I just don't.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be moving on, though, to Michigan. As we started today's podcast, we'll be ending our early expectations with tonight. Michigan, the national champs. Save the best for last, I guess, if you're talking national champions. But like we said at the start of the show, Sharon Moore comes in, Jim Harbaugh out due to heading to the NFL.
Yep.
Michigan has a, I don't know, favorable schedule, but, they do actually, start the year Fresno State, but then, Texas, USC, Washington, Oregon, Illinois, Michigan, and then Ohio State. Actually, check that. Really delete everything I just said. Not favorable. I've been so fogged. My memory has of all of the cupcakes they've played till like week 8 every last 10 years that I just completely realized that they're actually getting a big boy schedule this year.
Mhm.
So Michigan actually is going to go run a gauntlet. Luckily, though, they do get Texas, USC, and Oregon all at home. So I don't know how they lucked out that one. But they do get a national title rematch October 5th at Washington, and then obviously at Ohio State.
Yeah.
This could be, or possibly, I don't want to say my early, well, yeah, you know what I'm going to say because it's an early expectations. Setback year?
I can see it.
Setback year? I'm not saying it's like we're going to go from 15 wins to 7 or 8. But I'm saying maybe possibly a 9-win season, 10.
I can see that. I just don't see them beating. It's just two things. I think they lose to Ohio State this year, and I don't think they go to the Big Ten championship.
No, I think Texas or Oregon's going to get them at home.
Yeah.
And that's very rare because a lot of people don't go into the big house and win.
Mm-hmm.
But, you look at that game at Washington, it'll be a very good game, I think, especially now you're going to get Washington, who remembers everything you just did to them.
Yeah.
And now you're going to get them at Husky Stadium in that kind of that field or that environment. Purple Rain is going to be coming down.
It's going to be a hostile environment.
For sure. You thought the Oregon hostile crowd. I mean, just wait till Michigan comes up there. That's going to be the fun thing with like all of these new teams, new conferences. The new, like the environments for some of these games are going to be just, I think, really good and really crazy.
Yeah. I think
so too, Michigan at Washington is going to be one. Oregon hosting out Ohio State. Texas hosting Georgia. Just some of these games are going to be crazy. But for Michigan, yeah, I think a little bit of a setback here coming up here.
Mm-hmm.
And, don't take it to heart, Michigan fans, because, how I am. But I just look at that schedule, with, some relatively new pieces at some key positions that have yet to be broken in, or what's the word I'm looking for?
I get what you're trying to say. I don't know the right word.
They haven't got the reps. You know what I mean? So you haven't got the reps.
The experience.
Yeah, the experience that McCarthy and all these other veteran guys had. Blake Corum, Roman Wilson. So going to be a new team, but Sherrone Moore may just come in and just say, "Listen, we're going to ground and pound. We're going to do what we've been doing,
We're just going to keep.
We're not going to change. Nothing's changing. We're just going to, make it my way instead, I guess. But it's everything else is going to be the same, which I do think is why you're going to see a lot of players staying also because they loved Sherrone Moore. And so why would you leave if you like to coach that much?
Yeah.
So I don't think, like I said, I don't think you're going to be stepping back crazy, but I do think there's not going to be an undefeated season. I don't think there's going to be a 1-loss season. I think I see 2 losses right now on their schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I think Texas or Oregon's going to get them at home, like I said.
Yeah.
I think Ohio State right now on paper will beat them, at least challenge them a little more than they have recently. But I still would have Michigan in my top 10 going into this year, obviously. And like I said, I think they're going to start the year off strong, but don't see them, being at the level they were last year, maybe even the year before.
Yeah.
Pretty fair to say.
I agree with you there, yeah.
All right.
No, I think you got it right.
All right, we're going to move on, though, to the Big 12 and ACC schedule release because there was conference releasements. Nobody really talked about them because they didn't really get the publicity like the ACC or the SEC or the Big 10 got.
Yeah.
But we'll start with the Big 12. And what we're going to do is we just take 2 teams that we find interesting going into next year and look at their schedule, how we think it'll shape out. So in the Big 12 for me, I have West Virginia.
Okay.
And for the Mountaineers, coming off a 9-win season, could have been 10 if they would have played defense and put their 6'7" tight end on a Hail Mary, but they chose not to and they lost to Houston. Regardless of that, You get Penn State in Morgantown, which is going to be crazy. Then you get Pitt, or you go to Pitt, which always feels like it's more West Virginia fans there anyway.
Yeah.
But then you get Kansas at home, at Oklahoma State, Iowa State at home. You get Kansas State at home. You go to Arizona, but you get UCF and Baylor at home. So really, the only noticeably big road games are Texas Tech at the end of the year and Arizona.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you can count Oklahoma State. We'll see how they do this year. I expect them to be fine with Bowman coming back. Don't know how he has another year of eligibility, but that's not for today's conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Garrett Green's coming back. They have a bunch of guys that are going to be back. This is a team that will compete. I said this after the bowl game. I think this is going to be a team that will be competing for the Big 12 title.
Yeah.
I expect them to – I think they could beat Penn State right now. If you told me who do you have more confidence in, I'd say West Virginia.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I mean, yeah. So I think you could see they might start the year. They could be going into Kansas State or hosting Kansas State September 21st, possibly 3-0 going into October undefeated, and then you go.
Yeah.
The only thing that I think for West Virginia is they need to avoid any sort of losing streak slide. We've seen this before with them where you lose one game that's like, okay. But then you lose another one and then another one. And it's like, what happened? We were just 5-2 and now we're staring at a 5-5, 6-5, 5-6. It's like, what just happened?
Yeah.
They can avoid that. I think they're going to be good. My other team is Utah. Cam Rising coming back is the biggest thing for me. So him right there, I always am going to trust Kyle Whittingham, regardless of who's there and who's not. You get Southern Utah, the Thunderbirds coming in, start the year. Look out there. But then you get Baylor at home, Utah State, Oklahoma State, Arizona State, TCU, Houston, BYU, Colorado, Iowa State, and UCF. I mean, that's a pretty favorable schedule right there, too.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think they got a bad one.
Arizona at home, you get TCU at home, and you get BYU. Oh, the BYU game will be just outstanding.
Yeah.
The Mormons are clashing.
The Holy War. Holy
War is back. Set your calendars for November 9th when BYU goes into Rice Eccles.
Yeah.
I don't feel intimidated about them going. Their possibly toughest road game is Oklahoma State. I don't think UCF is anything crazy as far as – I mean, UCF is always a Malzahn special where he might upset someone. But as far as atmosphere goes –
the travel.
The travel could be something. But
I think that could be the toughest part, though, is traveling. Because do they have a home game and then an away game?
They go back-to-back games on the road with Utah State and Oklahoma State. But then they get Arizona at home, but then they go to Arizona State. TCU at home, Houston at Houston, but then a bye week before they go. It's home, away.
Okay.
For the most part.
Because what really killed them last year when they played, not last year, but the year before when they played in Gainesville, wasn't that Florida was really a much better team than they were. It was that travel killed them.
Yeah.
Traveling the entire country like that. So
the fact that they couldn't stop Anthony Richardson save their life either, but
Yeah, But I mean they got KJ Jefferson now and
UCF does.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that KJ Jefferson similar.
Well, I'm talking about Utah here.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying is I think that could be a trap game.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean Malzahn, that's a Malzahn special right there.
Yeah.
But outside of that, more like atmosphere wise. I mean, it's UCF atmosphere is not like it used to be when Bortles and Mackenzie Milton were there. Just freaking putting up 50 bills every week. So, I think Utah, if they can stay healthy, health has been the biggest plague for this team last couple of years. Where they looked really good, they stumbled because if someone's got hurt, that's a key piece. So.
Yeah,
and that's ended up really biting them in the butt last year with the quarterback. The quarterbacks, inconsistencies, not having Rising there at all year, really hurt them all year. And but get Rising back for one last ride. Let's see what the old slinging long-haired cowboy can do, I guess. So, Dylan, who are your Big 10 teams or Big 12 teams?
So the Big 12 teams I picked Colorado first. Their schedule's really weird, just in general. I mean, so they're going to start out the season at home against North Dakota State. FCS squad, but an FCS squad that kills Power 5 teams.
I'm going to let you finish, and I'll have an endpoint in mind.
Okay. But, I mean, I don't know how they'll do against them. North Dakota State is without their head coach.
Never doubt the Bison, though.
Exactly. I mean, I struggle with that one. Then they have to go to Nebraska. Yikes. Not a fun one there. I do not trust them in that game either.
No.
They got to go to Colorado State.
Ew.
I don't like that one either.
Ew.
I don't like that one either.
Going to Fort Collins? No thanks.
No thanks. So then they get a home game against Baylor. Respectable. Then they have to go from Boulder to Orlando.
Ew.
Not looking fun. And I think there's a decent chance that one could end up being a Friday night game too. Based on the timing, Saturday the 28th, I think that could get pushed to Friday. I wouldn't be surprised. That's a game that seems like a Big 12 Friday game there.
Oh, the old Friday, the new Big 12 After Dark? Or is that what we're going to be calling this?
Pretty much. I'm on West Coast team.
Here we go.
So then they get a home game against Kansas State. Does not look good. At Arizona, you never know if Arizona's new team, brand new head coach.
Yeah.
They get Cincinnati at home. 50-50. I think they probably win that game, to be honest, though. They have to go to Texas Tech. Forget about it. Nice. They get Utah at home. I don't see their chances looking good. They have to go to Kansas. Again, not great. And then they have the Friday night game against Oklahoma State at home where they probably get killed. I honestly think they could win like 2 games on the schedule.
Let's see. They went 4-8 last year.
Yeah.
So let's see. They got to beat 4-8. Let's see. North Dakota State, a very, very not so smart game to start the year. If you're going to schedule an FCS team, let's not make it the Bison. But we'll say I bet they're going to win.
Yeah.
Nebraska played them very tough this past year. And if they had a quarterback, they'd probably win. So I'm going to go with Nebraska.
Me too.
They're going to survive Colorado State. Let's see. And then Baylor, tough one, but we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. We'll say they'll win. So let's see. They're 2-2. I think UCF's going to beat them.
Yeah.
Kansas State's going to beat them. So you're 2-4 now?
Yep.
Arizona, we'll see.
It's at Arizona too. Don't forget.
And Noah Fafita is staying, so I'm going to get Arizona. So you're 2-5. Cincinnati, I think a win, so 3-5. I'm going to give them a loss against Texas Tech, 3-6. Utah lost 3-7. Kansas lost. We're going to be looking at a 3-9 season if we're going to be just right now.
If we're just based on their performance and what they've done, I mean, I
need to see what kind of improvements they've made on that line of scrimmage as far as offense and defense, because if I haven't seen any improvement or if it's what I saw last year, same kind of like with USC, they will not be succeeding much.
Yeah.
And
especially since some of these Big 12 teams have really good defensive lines.
Oh, for sure.
Especially,
West Virginia, Utah, Texas Tech, Arizona, you have Oklahoma State always has a solid one.
Yeah, Kansas.
Kansas. I mean,
Kansas
these
got
guys,
some guys there, yeah.
These guys will push you around. If you think you're escaping of the Pac-12, you will not be escaping
Forget about it.
Most of them are following you there. So whatever you struggled with last year, you're going to see it
the whole conference.
Yeah. But yeah, let's move on though to the ACC, And I'll let Dylan start this time around since I started. So let's hear your two ACC guys.
All right. I'm going to start with FSU's schedule, of
Alrighty.
course, got to go with my Noles, right? Sorry, the schedule I pulled up was wrong at first, so I'm going to get it correctly. So they're going to start out the season against Georgia Tech in Dublin.
Yes. Game day will be there.
Game day will be there. Game day.
Herb Street will be there.
He's going to get booed.
Oh, he'll wipe his tears off and bling.
So then their first home game will be against Boston College. The second, it's a Monday night game.
Oh, never mind. Lost. No,
They get a bye week. Then they get Memphis at home.
Win.
A
Mike Norvell reunion game.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
They get Cal Berkeley at home.
Win.
Yeah. They go to Dallas to play SMU.
Loss. No, just kidding. Win.
I think they win that. They play Clemson at home. I think that could go either way, personally.
Clemson's had their number last couple of years. Even when they survived last year, it felt like Florida State had no business winning that game.
Yeah, but that was at Clemson, too. This one's in Doak Campbell.
But we have seen Clemson just kind of do whatever they want when they go to Doak anyway.
Yeah.
And a DJU revenge game, possibly.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I think that game could go either way. They play Duke in Durham.
With who's the quarterback who just went there? What's his name? Oh, Malik Murphy.
Yep.
Solid
team, but I think they've definitely taken a step back from where they were.
Okay. Is that at Duke, though?
It's at Duke, yes.
Slip a trap game, possibly.
It's on a Friday night.
Oh, definitely a big trap game. Look out for that one. Plus, coming off the Clemson game. Is there a bye? Is there a bye in between,
There's
though?
a bye week.
Okay, so I was going to say, if there was no bye right there, trap game for sure.
Yeah, they got a bye. They've never lost to Duke before.
Listen, all great things must come to an end, Dylan.
24 straight.
You know who else? You know what else came to an end this year, though?
What?
That notion that all undefeated teams make the playoff.
But Duke's not changing.
Maybe Clemson.
And they play at Hard Rock against Miami.
Duke almost beat you guys last year or this past year.
Yeah, with their coach.
Injured quarterback away.
Yeah. Now they lost both.
Those injured quarterbacks. They just kind of circle around here.
But they lost both of those guys. So.
Well, again, that's
tough luck.
Circle of quarterback lift. Tough shit. My bad, guys. Sorry.
Hey, relax. But then they play Miami at Hard Rock. We'll see. I think
that crowd, is going to be electric.
Yeah, they got Cam Ward, so you never know.
That half empty crowd is going to be outstanding.
They're going to play North Carolina at home.
Mac Brown.
Yeah, I don't know who their quarterback will be next year, though. So they're kind of just up in there. It could be anything.
It's Texas A&M guy, lefty.
Oh, Max Johnson. That's an easy win.
Because him and his brother went there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forget to move on for that game. That game's still a win. They're going to play at Notre Dame in November.
Oh,
that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Riley Leonard revenge factor.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
They'll pull Tyler Buckner off the lacrosse team to play in that one if they want to.
Yeah.
Like, you throw a football still? You got to throw a football still? All right, perfect. Suit up.
They get a bye week, and then they play Charleston Southern at home.
You better watch out.
Yeah,
CSU right there coming in.
Then they play Florida at home.
Oh, that's Napier. He's just got a couple guys coming in from the portal, an investigation to deal with, and Graham Mertz. So, listen, you better watch out.
That was
Florida.
Man, that was a hard one to pull.
They just got a special teams coordinator. That's the winner of the week right there, Florida. Special teams coordinator equals winner of the week for Florida. Let's give him a round of applause. Just give him a round of applause, guys. Come on. There's no more. They better not have any more mishaps now on that special teams unit.
Just get ready for.
Oh boy, did they have a bunch. Well, they got it from the pros though, and Patriots, so they're gonna be fine.
The Patriots. I don't know if that's the right team to pull from this year.
Well, never know. Anyway, Yeah, I mean, Florida State.
I think they got a really favorable schedule with the new ACC.
I mean, the only games like I said, I think Clemson will always give them a run for their money, just because it feels like Dabo always has Florida State
Yeah.
circle, because Dabo is one of the great coaches, and Norvell is working his way up there.
Mhm.
But those are the games that you always circle.
I think
there's
there's 3 games that I really have circled as
Miami. I think Florida will always give them a run for their money.
I don't know.
Even this year, when they clearly had the better team, they still only won by 11. It was a gross game.
And they had their backup quarterback in.
So did Florida. So, I mean, again, you can't say that because Florida had their backup in. Still only won by 11.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, Florida State 2 years ago, Anthony Richardson he had no business being that close either.
Yeah.
Florida State barely won that one.
I don't know. I just think
Florida. Those are just the games that you just circle in your calendar.
I just don't think Florida has a head coach by that game. So
that could also be true. But I'm just saying, as far as let's just focus, I guess, on the ACC games, because rivalry games you always circle your calendar for. But ACC games, Florida State, that Duke game, I'm telling you, is always going to be a weird trap game. And then Miami. I think Notre Dame, we're not counting Notre Dame as an ACC game unless they magically just joined the conference without my awaring. But yeah, the Miami game could possibly be one. We'll see how Cam Ward and Cristobal, work out. I think Miami's gonna be better than what they were this year, and that was with a lot of young guys. So another year now with a year of experience, they should be good. But I just think, that Clemson Miami stretch and that Duke one thrown in between, a little bit maybe is the tough stretch right there.
Yeah.
All right. Who actually? I'll do my ACC team, and then I'll give you'll do your other one.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna do Clemson as my first choice.
All right.
So Clemson has to go back to. Am I doing this right here? Oh no, never mind. That was the wrong schedule. This was this past year's. All right, never mind. I was like, I didn't know they were at Duke again this year to start the year. No, they get a warm welcome with Georgia first off the bat at Mercedes-Benz. So we'll call that a semi-away game for the Tigers. Then they get App State, which is never an easy out.
Mm-hmm.
You get them at home. You get North Carolina. You get a bye. Then you go North Carolina State and Stanford all at home. Then you go to Florida State at Wake Forest, Virginia at home, bye week, Louisville at home, at Virginia Tech, at Pitt, Citadel, and South Carolina all at home. So immediately, what stands out? Excuse me. A lot of home games, which outside of the Florida State game, and listen, Virginia Tech game should be a great atmosphere, and I really like where Virginia Tech's going. They've got that program turned around.
Yeah,
they look like they finally got some mojo going on now down there in Blacksburg, but. Outside of that, I mean, Pitt and Wake Forest as your away games are nothing. I mean, really to talk about. You get your big games at home with South Carolina and Louisville, and then you avoid the West Coast trip with Stanford coming in, and NC State's at home. So I mean, realistically, Georgia, I think they'll lose that one, and Florida State, you never know. Let's say they lose that one. If Dabo and them can get their crap together and not poop their pants this year, I mean, you're looking at a possible 9-10 win season.
Yeah.
I think the only game, I mean, that Virginia Tech game will be a challenge. If they lose that one, I still think they can beat everyone else. I mean, the Louisville one, we'll see how they do.
Yeah.
But 9-10 wins, I feels like needs to be where Clemson has to be in the regular season, at least, because if we're not, I mean, they'll get that extra win if they go to a bowl game. But I think his second year now is Cade Klubnik is the full-time guy, and the second full year with Riley as the OC. I think you started to see a lot more improvement at the end of the year.
Yeah,
going forward, where they caught a lot of momentum and finished the year out really strong. The biggest thing again, Dabo. Not using the portal. So we're going to see his method of not using the portal and just recruiting. Again, this is his stubbornness coming in. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah.
It didn't work out really this year. Didn't really work out last year, the year before. Will it work this year? Maybe. I don't know. If we're just going off pure high school talent and development, I think 9-10 wins. But again, since we're not using the portal, that's just is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree with you. I think the best thing about their schedule though was the lack of super far traveling.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and you avoid the West Coast. Your farthest
Yeah.
road game is Florida State, right? I mean,
Yeah. Probably, yeah.
I mean, Pitt or
New
Pitt.
York, yeah, Pitt.
You go Pitt to Pittsburgh. So, but I mean, that could always be a trap game. That's always a weird game, I guess, for a lot of upper echelon teams in the ACC. So I guess you never want to, just turn your back on that one. But yeah, they should be fine. Should be fine. Who is your second ACC team?
I picked Stanford.
Okay.
One of the new ACC teams. They have a very strange schedule. I'll start off right away. They get TCU at home at Stanford. I think they probably lose that game, but traveling all the way out there could be tough for TCU. They get Cal Poly at home. I think they probably win this game. They get a bye week, then they have to travel all the way to Syracuse, New York to play the Orange.
These new teams got drew the short end of the stick when it came to traveling.
Oh, Stanford really did. Then they have to go to Memorial Stadium to play the Clemson Tigers in South Carolina. Back-to-back away games. They get Virginia Tech at home. Then they have to go to Notre Dame Stadium. They get SMU at home. Wake Forest at home. Then they play NC State on the road. They get a bye week. Then they get Louisville at home. They play Cal at Cal. And then they play San Jose State at San Jose State. They have, quite frankly, I think they might only win like 3 games this season.
Which would not be shocking at all because that's how Stanford's been the last couple of years, where they have been stuck in the mud with themselves. It's hard to recruit out there with the academics as the biggest thing because you can't be unfortunately you can't be recruiting just guys unless they're really high end academic guys.
Yeah,
That's kind of how it is with Vanderbilt. You see with these higher end academic institutions that don't really care too much about their football program. You kind of get stuck with what it is. And that's just Stanford football for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the traveling's just as bad too.
It's horrible for them.
Yeah.
I will say this. I do think they're gonna win one ACC conference game this year. I think they're gonna beat Wake Forest.
Okay.
I have confidence because Wake Forest is having to go to California to play them. Wake Forest has a terrible roster, doesn't have a lot of great players on there. To me, Dave Clawson is out of touch. They should probably move off of him in a year or two. But I think the best part about Stanford is they might get that one win, and I also think this might be a trap. It might be a trap game for Virginia Tech having to go all the way out to Stanford.
And it'll be a night game too. Probably it'll be a night game. Sneaky.
I will say this, any of the teams that have to go to Stanford, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be way harder for them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's my only.
That'll be like the upset-ridden team.
Yeah.
For a long time, it's been Pitt, Stanford, or Cal is going to be that sleepy nighttime kick.
Yeah,
where it's going to get someone.
I think Stanford might catch Virginia Tech not paying attention hard enough, being a little bit tired from that plane ride.
Yeah,
that
for sure.
7-hour plane ride.
Ugh. All right, my team is Duke with Manny Diaz taking over. As my screen just completely failed me. There we go. So Manny Diaz takes over, and you bring in Malik Murphy from Texas. It should be an interesting see. I'm just kind of curious to see how the season goes. You get Elon and Northwestern to start the year, which is at Northwestern, who had a great year this past year with all the craziness that happened off the field. To go into this past season and win 8 games, a really good job there. But then you get UConn at home. You're at Middle Tennessee State. I don't know how that happens, but you go to Middle Tennessee State. But North Carolina at home, at Georgia Tech, Florida State, SMU, Miami, NC State, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest. It's definitely, I'm not seeing them winning the conference or probably competing for it.
Yeah.
But, listen, at Miami and at Georgia Tech are no, crazy away venues. So I could see this team. I'm interested to see how much success or input Manny Diaz has. This is like second stint now as a head coach.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing he didn't do a bad job at all in Miami. They just got fed up with him, I guess, for some reason. They just didn't like his results, and they fired him.
It wasn't even his results. I think it was just they were so excited over the opportunity of getting Cristobal that they fired him.
Yeah, I don't think if Cristobal isn't
available, 21-15.
Yeah, if Cristobal isn't available, I think Diaz is there,
and
you're seeing playing a different story here. But so he's not a bad coach, and I think Malik Murphy there is going to be a really big help. I think he's an upgrade, honestly, from Riley Leonard. I'm not saying Riley Leonard's a good quarterback, but I think Malik Murphy has a better upside. We'll see the weapons around them, what they can do. But listen, I think this is a team that could win 8. I think that's 7-9 range is what we're looking at, which is no slack either. So again, with these new 12-team playoff, the goal now, I guess, is minimum 9 wins.
Win 9 games and you give yourself a chance.
Yeah. You're just needing a chance. Anything can happen in college football. So, you get to 9 wins, there's a lot of chancing. A lot of chances can happen. Or you might, you play your cards right, even with a couple losses, you will be right there, giving yourself a chance to win a title. So, but yeah, that's Duke football right there. And we'll see how they do.
We'll see. I think first year Manny Diaz, it might take a year to build what he's trying to do.
All these coaches, it usually takes about a year, maybe 2. But usually by year 2 or 3, you are, and I think Duke's going to be fine. I don't think you're going to be seeing too much of a drop off from what Mike Elko was there. What Mike Elko did there was outstanding, just turning Duke around from being nothing to something. But I think Diaz is just as good of a coach, and he's gonna. I think Duke has a good guy. I didn't think they just left it from nobody. Diaz is a good guy. He knows what he's doing. And I think he's going to be able to recruit well also in that area, being, he was at Penn State and Miami. I think he's going to know, he knows that area really well. So I think he's going to be able to recruit some of maybe the more mid-tier guys. Also maybe work the portal well too. All right. We're going to finish off here with our way too early top 10. I know everyone's been eagerly waiting till know who we foolishly have as our top 10.
Yeah.
Do you want to start? Or do you want me to start?
I'm ready to start. Do you want to go who we have at each spot?
I think maybe let's just rattle them off just because of time, and then if we catch anything noticeable, point it out or stop each other in our tracks. Okay.
I'll start from 10 down.
Okay.
All right. So I'll go first. I got
actually start at 1.
Start at 1? Okay.
Yeah.
So my way too early number 1 team going into this season is going to be Georgia.
Yes.
Number 2, Ohio State.
Okay.
Number 3, Texas.
Okay.
Number 4, Oregon.
Okay.
Number 5, Michigan.
Okay.
Number 6, Ole Miss.
Okay.
Number 7, Alabama.
Wait, 5 again was
Michigan.
Okay. And then 6,
Ole Miss. 7 is Alabama. 8 is Notre Dame. 9 is Missouri. And 10 is Florida State.
All right. Biggest thing, maybe I just realized, not. I'm a little surprised FSU is down at 10 for you.
I mean, they just have a lot of guys they're replacing. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think they'll rise from there just because I think there's a lot of teams in front of them that will lose, like Missouri and Alabama. And
I think
Michigan.
Notre Dame in the top 10 is just screams overratedness to me.
I mean, maybe I like Riley Leonard.
Yeah.
So I could absolutely see them. They have a relatively, for Notre Dame standards, a little bit of an easier schedule.
Yeah.
So
my top 10 is going to be Georgia at 1,
okay,
Ohio State 2,
okay,
Oregon 3,
okay.
Texas 4.
Mm-hmm.
I got Ole Miss 5,
Okay.
FSU 6,
Okay.
Michigan 7, Alabama 8, Arizona 9, and the Missouri 10.
Okay. That's fair. The only one I'm honestly surprised about is Arizona.
I think
Just to me, because it's like brand new coach, brand new
Brandon coach, you are returning your quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
They should still be. You're returning your quarterback and one of your top receivers.
Yeah.
So I do think that it's a new conference where a lot of questions, more questions than answers as far as who's going to run the conference.
Yeah.
And who's not, who are the front runners. So I still think Arizona is going to be fine. Just the way they finished the year, winning 11 games and where they were, I think they're going to be fine. Like it's almost like your Notre Dame. I just think that they may find themselves outside the top 10 very quickly.
Yeah.
But I think for now, I think they respectfully get that 9 spot. Missouri could probably be there at 9 too, just how Missouri's been.
Yeah.
What they're doing and the recruiting rankings and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think 9, 10, those are like your, wild card teams because you could honestly split hairs with teams probably like 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Just honestly. So, but yeah, I think I do like how noticeably our top 4 are all the same.
That's what I thought. I mean, to me, I think it's very like this is the top 4.
I think Ole Miss being at 5 and you have them at 6 is right there. Just how they deserve to be up there.
I think so too.
Because I do think they're going to have a really good year going into next year.
I really debated it. My only thing was Michigan is the, defending national champions. I think they should still be in the top 5 for me.
Yeah.
But I still think the top 4 are a level above right now.
And that's what it is. I think with just, you lose your coach, lose a lot of your guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when Georgia Georgia fell to 3, I think. No. It was 3 or 5.
Which
the
year?
Next year, 2022.
I think they fell to
3. Yeah.
Because I think they fell behind Alabama and Ohio State.
Yeah. So, I mean, even they dropped. But I think Michigan could quickly turn that around if they beat Texas this week too. And then, they go on a run like they did last year. But yeah, I just think right now losing what they did and the new coach, it's going to chop you down a couple spots, and that's no indictment on them.
It's not a shame to drop a couple spots. I mean,
no, it happens all year.
Yeah,
they just take what you pretty much. You look at these rankings are also based off, what you're doing in the portal, what you're doing recruiting rankings, what you've lost, what you've added, who's there and who's not. So yeah.
I think I ranked Florida State a little bit on the lower side, but that's just because
that's where I was a little bit. I mean, that's why I had them at 6, only because they did pretty solid in the transfer portal, bringing some guys in.
They had a good transfer portal class. I think they had a good recruiting class. It's just I got to see how
too many questions. Too many questions.
Yeah, a little bit too many questions for me. I still think as long as they have Mike Norvell, I think there was a solid top 15 team every single year. I'm waiting to see if they can get past that level and be a consistent top 5 team maybe one day. But right now,
that'll be a big thing for Florida State going into next year. Was last year one of those flash in the pan, lightning in the bottle kind of seasons where now that was just out of the ordinary because what they did in the portal, bringing in Coleman and all those other guys. So will this year be a step back, or is it going to be consistency going forward? Kind of like how you were saying.
Yeah.
But that's why we have all this to talk about. Gives us content to talk about here in the off season. So, yeah, we're here. We're here, guys. We're just getting started. I went surprisingly longer than I thought we were today. Which is listen, we get caught up in the conversations. This is what happens. We'll be back next week, guys. Make sure you guys are subscribing.
Yes.
Would love to see the numbers tick up here as the off season is in full swing. Not for us, but for the people.
For everybody else.
Yeah. So, but make sure you guys are watching. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure you give us a follow and a nice review or 5 stars there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll be back next week. Subscribe, watch the video. Peace out.
See you guys.